Hi guys, it's Ray here from City Fan TV. I hope you're all doing very well. Time for a transfer update video. Okay, and spoiler alert, there's not a lot to say about transfers. Now, don't hang up, don't go away, don't click and go and watch another video. Stick with us for a few minutes, and whilst you're doing that, before we get into the meat of it, please subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon so you're notified as soon as new videos come out. Give us a thumbs up. Always nice to get a thumbs up. Right. There's not been any transfer business conducted by Manchester City, whether that's coming in or going out. And it's pretty much what I said a few days into the transfer window. If you remember the first transfer video I did, the update, I've done bits and pieces on individual players, kids that are potentially coming. Finley Gorman, Echeverri, I think his name is Echeverri, the kid from Argentina, and Kalvin Phillips, ins and outs. But I've not done a transfer video every day because there's nothing to say. I said this at the start of the window. Okay, Pep Guardiola is in his 8th season at Manchester City. Okay, it's at 7 January transfer windows. He's made one major signing. Do you know who that is? You can put it in the comment section below, but I'm going to tell you anyway. That's Aymeric Laporte. And we don't make January signings for a multitude of reasons. Primarily, I think, because players need time to settle. They have to have the right mentality and the right ability. Senior players, they have to have the right mentality and ability to be able to deliver immediately. And that's difficult, especially the way Pep does his teams with his strategy and tactics, and you've got to learn basically so many different playbooks with Pep. It's like an NFL, American football coach with all these different playbooks, all these different little strategies and things to do. So I said there's not going to be a lot of transfer business coming in. It's probably going to be nothing unless we get a serious injury somewhere or two. Unless, someone like Rodri gets really badly injured or, and he's going to miss 3 months of the season, then you might have to revisit your plans to do nothing. Or somebody becomes available that is extremely good value, that was probably on our radar anyway. We might have been interested in them. Or, if somebody else makes a move on a player that we wanted to buy in the summer, for instance, then maybe we make a preemptive move in January. But I said it's unlikely. Laporte was a different kettle of fish. Laporte had the mentality. He came in. He didn't play too many league games, I think, when he joined in that transfer window. I think, if I remember correctly, it was the Centurion season. He didn't play too many. Was it 8 or 11 league games in the remaining 4 or 5 months of the season? But he had the mentality and the ability to contribute from day one. And that was what was important to us. And also, you don't generally get value. You don't get good value in the January transfer window. Clubs know if you're going to be buying in January, you might be a little bit desperate. And that means you might pay, you're possibly willing to pay a little bit more for your transfers. And we don't want to go there. Now, I said at the start of the window, you've got City fan channels, people out there shoving out, commentary about transfers. Where are they? People said Echeverri, he signed. Where is he? He hasn't signed. I've seen. He's probably going to sign, which is what I said. I think I said he's set to sign. Okay, he's probably going to sign. But everybody's saying he signed. Where is he? 3 weeks have elapsed. 3 weeks have passed. He's not here. He's not here. Okay, so where's Kimmich? Joshua Kimmich, all these people who talked about Joshua Kimmich, and they get thousands and thousands and thousands of people watching these videos on transfers that are just not likely to happen. Okay, Joshua Kimmich in January, for me, I give it 0% chance, unless one of the other factors happens. Someone else bids for him. He says he wants to leave. He becomes available at a really good price because a club needs to sell to meet FFP for this year. Whatever. It has to be for one of those reasons, not because we're chasing somebody. okay, to buy them in January. As I said, unless we've got an injury or an issue. Like someone like Ivan Toney is out for 8 months, or someone like potentially Paquetá might be out for, or Tonali, who is out for. So if something like that happens, yeah, you might have to go out and dip your toes into the market and get somebody. But I said it's unlikely. And all the people who said, "Oh, we're getting this guy, and all these videos come out. Oh, look, Tolmy said this and all that. It's a load of poo. It's a load of rubbish. Nothing has happened. And as I said, all these people, big accounts and all that, big blues and all that, my ass, have said it's going to happen. It's not. Okay. And as you've seen, nothing's happened. We got, as I see is speaking, we've got about 10, 11 days left in this transfer window. And I still don't foresee us buying anybody of note. We might get some kids. We might get Echeverri in this window. We might get Finley Gorman. We might get a couple of other kids. But it's not. They're not going to be playing in the first team. So senior players who are going to be playing in the first team, I don't see us buying anybody. If you look, we bought so many last summer with Jeremy Doku, Matej Kovacic, Nunez. Who else are we going to buy? We've got what we thought we might need, okay? Phillips, why would we get a replacement for Phillips if he does leave? Because he's not played at all. So he's, replacing a bench warmer. I don't see that. Pep will, shove Kovacic in there, shove Johnny Stones in there. I can't see Pep going out and desperately buying somebody, as I said, unless somebody becomes available. Now, Echeverri, yeah, I think he'll sign. Finley Gorman, yeah, that's happened or going to happen. He's only 15 years old. I mean, it's nothing to shout about, It's unlikely this kid's going to be, if he's good enough, it's unlikely that he'll play for City for the first team for a couple of years. Now, he might get a bit part of appearance when he's 16 or something, but I can't see him breaking through, making it, and at 16, 17 years old, starting playing for City. So Finley Gordon's for the future, maybe in 3 or 4 years' time. It's not going to make any difference to this season. Kalvin Phillips, let's talk about him because obviously he's the one big name that might be moving on. I can't see anybody else moving on. Not a senior player anyway, unless someone's offering silly money. And I just can't see any of our players wanting to leave. Why would you want to leave when Kalvin Phillips is a different issue? But why would you want to leave when there's a chance for, you got a treble last season, chance for another treble? Kalvin Phillips wants to play football as well. So that's his issue. Other people, if you're playing, Nunez, for instance, he's only just got here. Kovacic only just got here. They know it takes time. I think they're not going to be worried about their game time. They'll want more, and it's up to them to show that over the rest of this season. And in training, in pre-season, or whatever. And next season, I think we all accept that. Kalvin Phillips is a different idea now. He's only made 10 appearances this season. How many starts? I don't know. It's so few. You can count them on probably one hand, if not one finger. He's not started many games. League games, it just doesn't happen. Pep's put in a midfield where we didn't have Rodri. He put Johnny Stones, was it Rico, Lewis, and Akanji. And Kalvin Phillips was still on the bench. So, City are happy to let him go. Pep said as much. We'll let the 28. He's 28 years old, and he needs to be playing football. He really does. So there's been lots of clubs mentioned. Juventus have been mentioned, Newcastle, even Bayern Munich, PSG. There's been about 8 or 10 clubs mentioned. How many of them are serious? I'm not so sure. Now, I think Newcastle were serious. I think they were serious, but we either want to sell him or send him out on loan for 6 months, or not even 6 months, for like 4 months. Because by the time he goes, you've got February, March, April, and May, most of May. It's maximum 4 months. And we are asking apparently £7.5 million, which is huge. £7.5 million as a loan fee to have him for those 4 months. That's a lot of money. And you'll be paying his wages. Now, I've got no idea what his wages are, but I would suggest they're at least 100, maybe 120 grand a week. So if you got him for argument's sake, let's say you got him for 4 months and you're paying 120 grand a week, that's basically £500,000 a month. It's another 2 million. So it basically, you're looking at the thick end, because there'll be some taxes to pay as well, some employees' national insurance and blah, blah, blah. You're looking at the thick end of 10 million quid. Now, I think that's pushed Newcastle away because Newcastle, they've got their well-publicised issues with financial fair play, and that's a lot of money. Even though they're struggling with players, but it's a lot of money. And there's talk of them having to sell a senior player to either balance the books or to allow them to go out and buy new players. This talk at the moment of Kieran Trippier going to Bayern Munich. Now, maybe that's gets them enough money in to sort FFP out to be able to allow them to get Kalvin Phillips. But the Kalvin Phillips deal will hit them for 10 million quid in the next 6 months. So it's a very, very negative deal, financial fair play wise. Okay. So Newcastle's, their name seems to have disappeared from this. So there are, despite numerous clubs, there's been obviously no agreement. He's not gone anywhere. So I'm going to get some stuff from the BBC website about comments from two managers, okay, about Kalvin Phillips. Now, this is David Moyes. West Ham obviously have an interest if you've been listening to what the press or media. And this is what David Moyes said. So he said, it's wrong to talk about players from other football clubs. Okay, this is David Moyes when he was asked about Kalvin Phillips during Friday's press conference ahead of Sunday's game against Sheffield United. Now, City, I mean, as I said, the amount's quite high, but City believe they're justified in taking the stance on the pricing of Phillips because he's still part of the England squad, okay? And is likely, the way things are going, to go to the European Championships in the summer. But he wants regular playing time. Apparently, David Moyes is eager to strengthen a squad that has been weakened by a succession of injuries. Yeah, they got injuries. Obviously, players at AFCON. I suspect most of those players will be back by the end of the month, the way I think some of those teams are going. But also, West Ham are doing well in the league. And although I don't think they're going to get to top four, I think it's very difficult. They're sat in sixth spot at the moment, 34 points from 20 games. They're 3 points behind Spurs with a game. 6 points behind Spurs with a game in hand. They're on a good run. They've won 3, drawn 1, lost 1 of the last 5 games. So they've got 10 points in the last 5 games, okay, which has got them back into 6th, which is Europa League position. Now, last season, they won the Europa Conference League. This year, they're in the Europa League. And Liverpool are still in the Europa League. So it's a difficult competition to win. Okay, but obviously they want to be in Europe. They're making a ton of money from being in Europe. So West Ham can look at this and say, do we buy somebody? Because other teams are close. United are 2 points behind. Brighton are 3 points behind. Chelsea are 3 points behind. Newcastle are 5 points behind. Okay, now some of those teams could get past West Ham. So West Ham have to consolidate and they have to go again if they want to maintain their Europa League spot. If they want to get into the Champions League, I think that's really difficult. But having said that, they're 6 points behind Arsenal. 6 points behind Arsenal, who are 4th. So, there's a possibility. Spurs are on 40 points as well, but they've played a game more. So it is tight. And hey, look, West Ham, could catch Arsenal. If Arsenal keep on stumbling and falling and failing and bottling it, then West Ham could catch Arsenal. It's only 6 points. You've got half the season to go. So maybe they look at Kalvin Phillips and say, get somebody in. It reinvigorates the squad. Excellent player. And it may be able to push them forward. Now, obviously, they've got issues with injuries at the moment. Lucas Paquetá and Mikel Antonio, although more attacking players, they're both out for an extended period of time. So they're interested because, as I said, it helps to boost them. Another club that are interested in it earlier this week, Crystal Palace boss Roy Hodgson, he confirmed they would be interested in Phillips if they could make the deal work financially. He's a good player, said Hodgson. I don't feel there will be many managers who would not say, yeah, we will be really happy to have him come to the club. If Manchester City are going to sell him, then I don't think we will be in the market. If they're going to loan him, I would like to think that we could possibly put our hand up and push ourselves forward. What we could then offer is a chance to play regular football in the Premier League in the build-up to what will be a very important summer for England and him. And he's right. He's dead right. Obviously, this summer is going to be very important. Kalvin Phillips wants to keep playing football because he wants a chance to start. Now, at the moment, I don't think Kalvin Phillips starts for England, but one or two injuries, Kalvin Phillips could end up starting. One or two injuries to key players, Kalvin Phillips could end up starting for England. Okay, Declan Rice gets injured. Maybe that's Kalvin Phillips' green light. That's his chance to start for England. So he needs to be fit and in the limelight. There might be somebody else who comes along who's in the limelight playing every week. Kalvin Phillips is playing bit part for City. And it might be his last chance. He's only 28. He'd like to think he's got another World Cup and Euros in him. But, football is a fleeting career. You could get an injury and that could be it. So he wants to do, I think he want to do the best for him. And the only issue then is Palace. Palace are in a relegation fight at the moment. They're quite low down in the league. They're 14th in the league with 21 points. Okay, they're 5 points above Luton, who are in the relegation zone. So Palace's form isn't great. A couple of draws and a win in the last 5 games. They've only got 5 points in the last 5 games. So they're not in great form. And as I said, they are definitely in a relegation battle. Because below them, there's Forest, there's Brentford, there's Everton who've had points deducted. If Everton get some of their points back, they've been deducted 10 points. What if they get 5 points back? Well, they leapfrog Palace. Palace are then down to 15th. As I said, only 5 points ahead of Luton, who are in 18th place. And Luton have got a game in hand. And although Luton haven't got to play the same number of games, but there's still half a season to go. They've still got 18 games to go. So Palace are in a perilous position. And maybe Kalvin Phillips doesn't want to go there. He'd go for the West Ham option. If you're going to regularly play for West Ham, who are in the top 6 at the moment in the Europa League, in with a chance of qualifying for the Europa League next season and whatever, maybe a loan move there as a precursor to a summer move might be really good for him. He might think, well, I don't really want to go to West Ham in the summer. I might, I'll look around to see who's going to offer me a better deal. But times are maybe a bit tougher, and who's going to spend, the 40 million quid City want for someone like Kalvin Phillips? I think he cost us about 45 million in 2020, in the summer of 2022. But putting a deal together for 2 different deals. Well, obviously, 2 different reasons. West Ham want to consolidate and push forward and trying to get into the Champions League, possibly, or maintain their position in the Europa League. Whereas Crystal Palace want to maintain their position in the Premier League. Kalvin Phillips could look at that. And I think a loan deal is what's going to happen. As I said, I can't see anybody buying him this winter. Possibly someone could say, we will loan him now and then we'll buy him in the summer, because if it's allowable, the loan fee will hit the accounts this year. Buying him will be in the next set of accounts. If our accounts are up to the summer, then buying him will be in the next set of accounts. We'll worry about that then. Okay, let's not. But actually, I mean, to be honest, it's actually, if you can do the numbers for FFP, if that's not an issue, then you'd buy him now, because you'd only get, I'm not going to go into too much, you get 6 months worth of amortization instead of right now, instead of that full whack. So the numbers are actually better if you want to buy him permanently, and you can do it, better to do it now, because for argument's sake, let's say you did pay 40 million for him and got him on a 5-year contract, you amortize him at 8 million a year, but you're only having him for like 6 months of the year or 5 months. So this accounting period would get hit for something like 3 million, 3.5 million instead for his amortization. But if you got him on a loan, you're paying that full 7.5. So it's 4 million difference. You might say it's not a big deal, but it might be the difference between someone like Everton failing FFP and passing FFP. So you've got to look at these numbers and be careful about what you're doing. But as I said, the straight loan with no obligation to buy is what I think will happen to Kalvin. And will he go this window? Yeah, I think there's a very decent chance someone's going to get desperate enough, and I think that's what it might be, to pay the money. Now, last thing on this, I think Pep said in a press conference, I remember talking to Bernard about this, that Kalvin will probably leave at the end of the window. which was, we thought, well, any club who wants somebody would get him at the beginning of the window, surely. And I think, I said it to Bernard, I can't see us keeping him just in case someone gets injured because of that very situation where Rodri wasn't available and we played Akanji, Stones, Rico Lewis in midfield and no Phillips. So I thought, I was surprised, but I think City are banking on the fact that to get towards the end of the transfer window, someone's going to be desperate enough to pay that 7.5 million for Kalvin. It's good money for us, 7.5 million. It's very nice for our on our turnover. We probably don't have to pay his wages. So as I said, we'll make about 10 million on the deal. Very happy. And if we can sell him for 40 million in the summer, happy. Honestly, it is happy days because if we sell him for 40 million, final point. Honestly, final point. If we do sell him for 40 million in the summer, his book value in our accounts will be somewhere in the region of 27 million. So we'll make a 30 million notional profit on Kalvin Phillips, which is great for our account. So if we can make 30 million profit in the summer and 10 million quid, now that's a turnaround on Kalvin Phillips of 23 million quid in our accounts. It'll look really, really good. Guys, funny thing is, I'd like to say, because there's nothing on transfers really, and I've blabbed for 20 minutes, but hopefully you get the picture. Transfers don't happen in January. Anybody who's telling you we've bought this player is talking out the backside, especially someone like Echeverri, who I don't believe has signed. I've not seen City parading Echeverri. And Kalvin Phillips is likely to leave at some point towards the end of the window, I believe. I don't know for sure, but that's what I think will happen. Guys, if you like what you've seen, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell icon so you're notified as soon as new videos come out. Give us a thumbs up. Always nice to get your thumbs up. Guys, we'll see you around Blues.